everything in life kind of is moving towards entropy and disorder and chaos. That's just the nature of the universe. And it's the nature of business because they are living, growing things. And so no matter where you are on your journey, coming back to like, what is most important to me at this stage and season of my life? What are the metrics that really matter at this stage and season of my life for this business and personally? And getting all of that aligned is the key to staying out of overwhelm. And it's also the key to getting better, faster results because you're a better leader. You're able to hire the right talent or bring in the right partners where needed. And you're also able to blissfully and gracefully and without FOMO say no to the gajillion other possibilities that will try to encroach in your time, in your mental and emotional bandwidth, even in your inbox and your social feeds. After we have clarity, then it's like, okay, should we be on the TikTok, the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTube, the podcast? Should we be doing all these things? Do I have to be everywhere at once? No, you don't have to do that. And most of us don't have the bandwidth for it. Simplify is all about paring it back to what are the critical few things that are really going to help you bring that clear dream to life in your business.
Need motivation?
Watch your top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because as a young entrepreneur, I struggled to keep my business going. I had no friends, I had no mentors, I had no role models. And the thing that saved me was learning from the success stories of famous entrepreneurs. And in their stories, I got motivation, and I also got strategies for what I could do to grow my business and not stay stuck. And I still need their stories for motivation today. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Marie Forleo, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is follow your passion.
I've always called myself a multi-passionate entrepreneur because, again, there's been so many things that I've been into and I like. And I think at this stage of my journey, I'm really excited about letting go of anything that feels stale and anything that feels like, you know what, I've been there and done that. And I'm super interested in who I'm becoming. And I don't know who that is yet. I think that there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of possibility in saying, okay, great, I've had this amazing career so far. I love that. I'm grateful for it. It's all cool. But to a certain degree, I'm like, okay, what's next? What else do I want to explore? And when this first started kind of bubbling up in me, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying because I'm like, wait, you know what? I've gotten so much success doing this, and this is who I'm known as, and this is what I've done, and this is how I've helped people. Like, I can't let this go. And now I'm like, what's next? There's so much excitement there. And, before we started recording, we were just talking about fitness classes and things like that. And that's where so much of my journey started. When I was starting my coaching practice, I was also a dancer and one of the world's first Nike Elite dance athletes, which that didn't even exist. And I just popped. I was like, this is dope. This is awesome. And now I find myself, my partner Josh says, well, what do you want to do more of? And it's honestly dance. Like, I find myself dancing in class and hitting up all of like choreographers I know and people I know that'll do privates. And I'm like, hey, can I get a private with you? Hey, can I do this? Hey, can I get more involved in this? Because it's what's bringing me so much joy. And it has absolutely nothing to do with a revenue stream or a business. It's like what my soul wants. And it's so exciting and so invigorating.
Rule number 3 is embrace vulnerability.
I remember in the early days, Dean, I had so much trouble focusing. I had so much trouble like just calling myself a coach. First of all, I think the word is really cheesy. I still do to this day. That's just my own kind of weird mind. But also because I was super passionate about dance, hip hop music, spirituality, writing, digital marketing, like all of these things. And I didn't fit into the one societal approved answer of like, well, what do you do for a living? And I was like 7 different things, including bartending and waiting tables, which was how I supported myself when I figured out how to make a coaching business work. Right. And so I remember calling myself a multi-passionate entrepreneur. And it was the first time, Dean, that I felt like all of my disparate passions were fit into a context that didn't make me feel flaky or broken. And then I got an ADHD diagnosis, and it made me understand a little bit more about my brain. And I don't live by labels, but it just helped me to understand like, oh, wow, well, maybe I'm built a little bit differently. And I have this awesome gift where I'm looking in a million directions, and I have all of these different skills. So rather than thinking it's a detriment or something to be ashamed of, what if it's a superpower? So that has continued over the course of my career, where so much insecurity, so much fear of not being good enough. Yeah. It continues to pop up. It's less so now than it's ever been, but I think that's a part of us being human.
Rule number 4 is build your dream business.
Running a business can feel very overwhelming for anyone, especially those of us who, again, consider ourselves creative. We're artists, we're idea people, we're healers. We know we have a product or a service that could truly serve people. But, one of the original reasons I started B School was actually because I met so many beautiful souls who wanted to start their own thing. And then when I would talk to them about what it was going to take to do it successfully and sustainably and for it to be effective, I would bring up the sales and marketing piece and they say, oh, no, I can't do that. I'm the idea person. I need to find a partner or someone else can do that. I wanted to shake them. I'm from New Jersey. I'm like, no, like lovingly shake them, but be like, please do not poo-poo this part because it's the lifeblood of any thriving business. And so what I train myself to do, and I think what I'm effective at, is helping people simplify the process so they don't get overwhelmed. And so they don't think that they have to be in 17,000 places at once. And so day one of Dream Business Bootcamp is actually the most important. And that's what we're going to do on that day. And principle number one is we need to clarify. We kind of alluded to this a little bit more when you were talking about how there are so many different versions of business success. And it doesn't have to look like the Amazons or the Googles or the Instagrams or the TikToks of the world or any brand that you've kind of seen out there in media. And so I want everyone listening now, if you have any interest at all, if you're running a business right now and you just want it to run better, or you have an aspiration to start something new or begin something that you've never tried before, what does having a dream business really look like and mean to you? Can we clarify that? And Jeff, I think I was telling you the other day when we were chatting, like I'm in the middle of this renovation of a beautiful old home that Josh, my partner, and we've lived in since 2006. And it's very small. And we wanted to just kind of build out some more functionality in it because we want to spend more time there. And, if you're going to build a dream home, what do you need to do? Well, you need to clarify what exactly does that dream home look like? You need to start to articulate it on paper and get a blueprint down. So then you can gather all the support from yourself and other people in order to bring that vision to life. And so the first step for any of us is like, what does our dream business look like? How much money in terms of revenue and profit would we love to make over the next year to 3 years? Who are the ideal people that we're meant to serve? Who are our dream customers? What's the difference it's going to make in their lives? What's the difference that starting this business is going to make in our lives, to our family? So the more specific and concrete we can get around what having a dream business looks like and feels like for us, it helps us reverse engineer the strategies that we are going to customize to bring our dream business to life.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is overcome fears.
Let's talk about the fears that come around slowing down or around shifting gears or around, in all honesty, my viewpoint is it's evolving. You're growing, you're changing, you are growing into more of, I believe, who you're meant to be. And it's like, what got you here won't get you there. That classic book and that classic notion. The only thing that we can depend on in life is impermanence and change. And that includes ourselves. It includes how we look. It includes our ambitions. It includes, and this is, I think, a piece of it. One of the interesting parts about doing the things that we do, or anyone who has somewhat of a public persona in any way, is this massive fear of irrelevance. That you've worked so hard on your climb up, and then you get to whatever certain point that feels like, oh my goodness, things are going great. There's people that appreciate my work. All the things are kind of lining up. And then when the ground starts to shift underneath you and what worked in the past doesn't work anymore, whether it's the external, like the numbers are going down, the business is shifting, the market is shifting, or it's your desires that are shifting. It's your ambitions, the craving of what you want to experience is shifting. That's terrifying. And it also happens to coincide, I think, for many of us with getting older. So then you actually start to see physical changes, or you start to experience physical changes, there's changes happening, and it often comes a time where people might be losing parents, loved ones, right? So all of these shifts and changes. And I think, when it comes to simplifying or considering it or considering shifting gears, I think a big fear that popped up for me, and I feel like I talk with it about a lot of people too, is the fear of irrelevance, of losing what you built, of losing the thing that you work so hard for. And if you stop pedaling so fast and pushing so hard, it's all going to be taken away. And I can tell you, at least from my experience, it's not true. It's not true. And what's cool about it too, for me, is that the more I've given myself permission to just really feel into what's a true yes and what's not, and to also question my own assumptions.
Rule number 6 is discover your unique gift.
The world needs that very special gift that only you have. And so one of my core beliefs for myself and for every other sentient being on this planet is that you were born with a unique set of special gifts that you and only you have. And if you don't do everything in your power to share those gifts with the people who need it, you are stealing from those who need you most. And I said stealing because, no matter how many times a particular message has been shared before, no matter how many times you think something's been done, if it hasn't been done by you, then it hasn't been fully done.
Yeah.
No one has your story. No one has your perspective. No one has your unique spin, and if you want, we can go further on this, or we don't have to, but I have such a great story on it because all of us can think it's all been done before. There's no room for us. Everyone's already done the course, done the book, done the podcast, done the retreat. And there's no room for me. And it's just simply not true. That's a very zero-sum way of looking at the world. And we live in a universe that is literally constantly expanding. And when you think about 5 billion people or so that are on the planet right now, there is no scarcity. There is more than enough to go around. And there are thousands, if not millions, of other humans who are waiting right now for you to share your message in your unique way, for you to start that podcast, to give that talk, to write that book, to launch that course, because they couldn't hear it from me. They couldn't hear it from you. They couldn't hear it from Tony. They couldn't hear it from any of our friends, but they need to hear it from you. And so I think thinking about yourself as a one-time mega event in the universe is a really fun, cool way to think. And you can think of everyone else like that too. So it's the honoring of other as special and unique, and you as special and unique.
Rule number 7 is create trust.
Facts tell, stories sell. So I'm going to say it one more time to make sure you get it. Facts tell, stories sell. Reason number 1, stories create trust. So how is that, you might be asking? So stories create this instant emotional connection with your audience. And an emotional connection is really the foundation of trust. And guess what? Trust is essential for sales in your business. Translation: when somebody trusts you, they are way, way, way more likely to buy from you. I want you to take a woman named Tanya Winchester, who is a naturopathic doctor, as an example. So Tanya is one of my Copy Cure students. And for those of you who don't know, the Copy Cure is our flagship writing program. It's really a course. And guess what? It's actually open for registration today. And in that course, we actually go very deep on how to use stories to sell. But back to Tanya's story. So before the Copy Cure, she was getting either 0 or maybe just 1 new patient a week to her practice. Now, after taking the program and really honing her storytelling ability, she said this: besides personal referrals, my website is now my main source of patients. Now I get an average of 3 to 4 new patients a week, and 80% of them say, being on your website was like looking in a mirror, or I knew you could help me when I was on your website, or it's like you were talking exactly to me. That's because Tanya learned how to tell stories in a very specific way. She learned how to create that instant trust, and it quadrupled the number of new patients coming to her business every single week. That's pretty powerful, right? I mean, just think about that for a second. How would your life change? How would your business change if you could quadruple the number of customers coming into your business every week? It's amazing. So moving on now to reason number 2. So stories help you sell at a premium, meaning they help you charge what you're worth. So a lot of business owners get scared these days, and it's understandable. And what they do is they keep lowering their prices in order to attract new customers, especially in today's economy, right? But what if by telling better stories and creating that deeper emotional connection with your audience, it actually made your ideal customers excited to do business with you, even if you charge more than everybody else.
Rule number 8 is listen to your intuition.
Has your intuition been something that's always been loud and clear? Because I feel like someone would look at your career and be like, oh yeah, she's got that on lock.
Yeah, this is something I feel like I can thank my mom for. So growing up in New Jersey, was in the suburbs, and I was always like a super independent kid. So my greatest value in the world is freedom. I've known that. It's just like how this thing is built. And I remember I was like 4 years old in kindergarten, and I wanted to walk to school by myself. And my mom was like, no freaking way. Are you kidding me? You're 4. She's like, maybe when you're like 5.5. And it was a few blocks. And once I finally got old enough, my mom said, all right, look, I'm going to let you walk a couple blocks to school once. She's like, but you have to make me a promise. And this is like in the 80s. She's like, if a car pulls up and is like, hey, little girl, I got some candy. Come, let me give it to you. She's like, you need to pay attention. There's a small, still voice inside of you. It's God. This is how she framed it. Grew up Catholic. She's like, you have a direct line to God. You don't need to go to church, but you have to listen to this little voice. And whenever it tells you run or whatever, you must listen to it and it will never steer you wrong. So I feel like from a very young age, I was trained to listen within. And she taught me that this little small voice existed.
Wow.
So by the time I became a teenager, by the time I was a young adult, I was so practiced at listening, not great at it, but I had a framework for it and I had some experience. And I think that's also one of the other gifts of getting older. I feel like my intuition just keeps growing louder and louder. And like physically, I've always been intolerant. It's hard for me to make really bad decisions because my body revolts. It'll get sick. It'll drop. I'll start crying. I can't move. Like it's very, very connected. And I think that even with all of these things, like I really tapped in when my friend was like, you need to do this. It was super expensive. They wouldn't tell me what the hell was in it, that kind of big journey.
Sure.
But I checked in and it really felt right. Like there was no signals. I was like, this feels really good.
Rule number 9 is leverage your strengths.
If someone right now, if the only reason they listen to this is because they needed something to go, oh, wow, I never looked at sales that way. What's one thing to help shift their mind? And then maybe one sales strategy.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to repeat something. I want to say this because I've seen this to have the biggest impact in the world. So if you're listening right now and you're a little peckish on sales, you're a little like, oh, I don't really know. I really want you to hear this. If you have a product or service that you believe in, that you know in your heart of hearts is going to transform someone's lives, and you don't do everything you can to market and sell the bejesus out of it, you are stealing from those who need you most. You are stealing from them, stealing a possibility, stealing joy, stealing connection, stealing health, stealing transformation. And so in terms of, a technique or a strategy, I'd actually like to frame this in terms of a question, because I think it can open people's mind to how good they already are, leveraging strengths and skills they already have. So there's not as big of a chasm between who they are now and who they need to become in order to master this. So let me ask you this. Do you like sharing a great remedy with someone? Like if your friend has a cold and you're like, oh my God, I have these natural cough drops. These are the most amazing things. Or it's some kind of, little supplement you can take. Like I know wellness formula for me in particular, like I take it, I feel better in a couple days. Or a new restaurant in your neighborhood. If you hit a new restaurant in your neighborhood and they have impeccable service, great food, great staff, don't you want to tell everyone about it? Or if you see a movie on TV or you read a book and you're like, this thing is mind blowing. Do you not want to share that from the rooftops? If you said yes to any of those things, guess what? You are already a master of modern marketing. You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
So that notion, right, of being willing to share something that could be beneficial to someone else from your heart, inviting them to potentially take an action, that's the basics of what it is. And of course, there's nuance, there's art, there's science. Dean and I could teach you about all this all day. Yeah, but if you get that, and if you have fun with that kind of stuff, your business can take off.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is take action.
Clarity comes from engagement, not thought. Clarity comes from engagement, not thought. So if you find yourself feeling, like, gosh, I don't know which way to go, or I have so many ideas and I don't know what to do first, or, any of those feelings, clarity comes from engagement, not thought. So unpacking this is like, first of all, it's really normal to feel afraid anytime we're stepping outside of what we already know. And whether we're starting a business or we're hitting that plateau and we need to evolve our business, we have to remember that 99.9% of what we need to do to get to that next level of our own evolution or our business's evolution of growth, we've never done before. We have no idea. So we're going to be feeling that sense of panic, uncertainty, fear. What if I mess it up? I don't know if I can handle it. Do I have what it takes? Am I smart enough? Again, I still feel that. That's very, very normal and human. And when you begin to take action, not only do you find that clarity comes from engagement, not thought, you start to really produce as a byproduct a sense of confidence. Why? Because by stepping out into the unknown and treating it as an experiment, and you're going to go find the answers like this is an adventure, you're like, oh, that fear feeling, it's not lethal. It's just it's along for the ride. And the confidence comes because you keep stepping out into that and discover that you can handle it.
I'm going to show you how to get clarity on almost anything. So if you're anything like me, there are situations that come up in your business, in your career, in your life that you're like, I don't know which to choose. I could go either which way. Oh, why don't I have the clarity I need? And oftentimes we're so used to looking to other people, calling our friends, calling experts, hiring coaches, looking to books, looking to all the external information, instead of remembering that we have this incredible well of internal wisdom that is always available inside us. Yet most of us don't know how to tap into it. We don't know how to listen. So here are my 2 best practices for getting that clarity and finding it from the inside out. Practice number 1 is something I call tapping into your higher, wiser future self. So all of us have another self that is coexisting with this one. And I like to think of it as my kinder, more expansive, more experienced, wiser future self. So whenever I find myself in a conundrum, here's what I do. Rather than going with my mind, which thinks, I like to go with my heart, which always knows. And here's how I get there. So I put my hand over my heart, I close my eyes, and I really ask, I say, all right, higher, wiser, future self, Marie, what do you really know to be true about this situation? Is it a yes? Is it a no? What does it feel like inside? What's the wisdom that you have to offer me right now? And then I wait and I actually listen. Again, most of us have so much information coming to us at all different times from our computers, our text, our email, social media, you name it. There's so much noise from the external world that we've forgotten that this beautiful version of us exists if we can actually hear it. So again, putting your hand on your heart, tapping into that higher, wiser, kinder, more experienced, beautiful future self that already exists in another dimension, and asking, what's the truth for me in this situation? What do I need to know? What do I need to understand? What's the best next move that's going to support my growth and who I need to ultimately become? Now, the most uncomfortable part is usually hanging out in silence and feeling what arises from within. And here's what I've learned about the messages that come from our higher, wiser future self. They're never harsh. That voice doesn't speak in a critical tone. It usually whispers, and it communicates with simplicity and clarity. Sometimes it might, for me, come in words. Oftentimes it comes in body sensations. Like I can feel a sense of dread about moving in a particular direction versus another. I can feel a sense of lightness about moving in a certain direction rather than other. Or one feels just more fun and more easy rather than another. So give that a try the next time that you might be feeling like you've lost your way, you're unclear about how to move forward, and that you're too busy listening to external voices rather than your own. And if you don't get the clarity that you need with that little practice, here's my next one. So this is something called automatic or guided writing. I got to tell you, this was something I used consistently when I was writing my book, Everything is Figureoutable, because I kept running into so many struggle points. Oh my gosh, I felt like I was beating my head against a wall. I didn't have clarity. God, which chapter first or which information to put where? And it was so torturesome because I was putting so much pressure on myself to get this book right. I wanted to do a really great job for everyone. Anyway, the practice of guided writing saved my butt. And here's what you do. So, guided writing is this journaling practice where you tap into that higher, wiser, more conscious you, and you give it voice on the page. Just let your hand start moving on the page. And I promise you, if you ask with intention and you allow yourself to just start letting words come through, you will be shocked at the wisdom that shows up. I want you to imagine that you are 96 years old. You've had this rich, full, beautiful life. And here you are reflecting back on all of it. Here are the prompts I want you to respond to. Number 1, my goodness, I spent way too much time worrying about blank. And I didn't spend nearly enough time doing things like blank. Here's why these prompts are so genius. First of all, I hope that you make it way past 96 and have the most healthful, rich life. But the truth is, none of us know how much longer we're going to be here, and no day is guaranteed. And rather than getting caught up in the minutia and feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you're stretched in a million directions and having your phone or your computer or whatever pull your attention, why not take a step back and really assess while you still have the chance? The chance to make a change, the chance to aim this most precious resource of your time, your attention, your love, to what really matters to you. And so the first one, I spent way too much time worrying about blank, and I didn't spend nearly enough time doing blank. Answer those questions, answer them from your heart, answer them honestly, and I promise it'll provide a roadmap to some significant change that you can start right now.
The constantly making it better is how you get to something that's legendary. And I think folks don't have the patience or the ability to focus over time and the desire to make something extraordinary. And that's why we have a lot of mediocre. In a sea of sameness where people are not really trying that hard, all you have to do is like put 20 to 25% extra in terms of the care, in terms of how you want something to be, in terms of the customer experience. And you stand so far above the massive mediocrity, right? Mm-hmm. So I actually think you can see it as a positive. And I think that's true in almost every area of life because people are so, I just want passive income. And whenever anyone tells me they want passive income, I'm like, I got a bridge to sell you. Nothing is truly passive. Nothing. Even investments, if we're looking in the financial world, if you don't keep an eye on your portfolio, you're going to cry at some point, right? So I don't think anything is truly passive. I don't think that's the position or the posture that we want to take in life. We don't want to sit around eating bonbons. We'd be bored out of our friggin' brains. So why not be actively involved and have leveraged income? Why not think about how to create such an extraordinary experience for your customers that they can't wait to tell other people about it? Mm-hmm. So I think there's some different positioning that can happen, but I think that the amount of courses shouldn't be a deterrent. It should be an inspiration to be extraordinary.
How does one not become frustrated and jealous of those who are achieving the things you so desperately want? I want to be happy for them, but part of me feels like there are limited spots on the podium. Thanks so much. Love, Britt. Britt, this is a great question. Now, I want you to know something. I have never met one creative entrepreneur, present company included, who hasn't felt frustrated or upset when they feel like other people are just zooming past them. So you are not alone. But the short answer here is no, there are not limited spots on the podium. We do not live in a zero-sum world, and there is more than enough opportunity to go around for everyone. However, the comparison impulse is really what's crushing you here. It's addictive and it's deadly, and it will destroy your business and your happiness if you let it. So first and most importantly, my friend, put down the compare schlager. Britt, you have got to go cold turkey. People say comparison is the thief of joy. I've called it the Hamburglar of happiness. But when it comes to your small business, it gets even more dire because comparison really is the robber of results, the pillager of profits, the pickpocket of prosperity. And those are three things that every entrepreneur needs in order to survive. This is serious, Britt, because every time you do a shot of Comparschlager, you are slowly killing any chance your small business has of succeeding. Most people don't realize it, but they actually waste hours every single day comparing themselves to others. And the only way to stop is by cutting yourself off. So take a look at your habits. Are you following certain people on social media? Are you constantly checking certain websites and then feeling like crap after? Identify the specific behavior patterns that just trigger you and stop it. Here's a hint. Don't rely on willpower. Unfollow people you compare yourself to on social media if that's one of your vices. Even better, take those apps off your damn phone, woman. Do the equivalent on your laptop too. Do you ever feel like there might be some kind of hidden limiting belief inside your head or your heart? Maybe even a fear of success? I don't know. Maybe you're afraid that you're actually not good enough to achieve your dreams, or that if you do achieve more, that people are just going to expect more from you and you'll never be able to meet their expectations. Or maybe you're afraid that more success will cost you your mental or your emotional or your physical health, or that you're going to have to sacrifice your values. Whatever your limiting belief might be, the first step is you have to face it, which means I want you to say it out loud. And most importantly, you need to write it down. So that's what I did. And it really helped me so much. First of all, naming it stopped it from being this really vague and shapeless, scary feeling that was just floating around in my head and my body. And more importantly, when I wrote it down, I could just look at those words on the page and I could distance myself enough from it to really see it objectively. Now, the second step was to get curious. So I had to ask myself, is this fear based in scientific fact? Is it like the law of gravity? Or is it just one possibility out of many that could possibly exist? Now, of course, it was just one possibility out of many. And look, I've been with the same person for a very long time. So I just stayed curious and I asked myself, okay, Marie, has your relationship actually gotten worse the more successful you've become? And my answer to that was no. In fact, when I really looked back, I realized that we actually used to bicker and we used to fight and argue a whole lot more in those early days. And that's when I was just starting out and I wasn't nearly as successful then. In order to become the time genius that you are meant to be, you have to prioritize what matters most at this stage and season of your life. And in order to prioritize what matters most, you need to decide what matters most. Now, for me, at that particular point in my life, joy, impact, profit. For you, right now, who knows? It might be something different. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's your mission. For other of you, it might be starting an entirely new business or changing careers, or actually spending more time with the people that you love while you still have that one more chance. I don't know what it is for you, but I do know this. You have got to have the courage to ask yourself those questions, and you have to find the courage to listen to the answer that arises. Not the answer from your heart, not the answer from social media, not the answer from society. The answer from your soul. Because here's something that I know about ambitious, driven people like us. We can continue to push and push and push. We can continue to run the same pattern over and over and over again. And we can even make it look sexy. We can make it look glamorous to the outside world. But inside, we know the truth. We know that we don't want that old version of success anymore. And so many of you are here today because there's something that you don't want anymore. There's something that you want to change. And look, so many aspects of your business and your life, I'm sure, are amazing. That's true. And there's still something that you want to change. And I can tell you this. Thousands of people are escaping time stress, and they're finding profound transformation from following this simple Time Genius formula. They are healing themselves from chronic burnout. They are doubling and tripling their creative output in a fraction of the time. And they are finally experiencing that joy and that fulfillment and that freedom that they got into the game for in the first place. This could be the year that you rediscover who you really are outside that nonstop pressure and that exhaustion and that overwhelm that's been holding you back. This could be the year that you re-choose yourself and you redefine your own success instead of obeying the expectations and the rules of other people. This could be the year that the world gets to see you finally in all of your glory. That playful, vibrant, multi-passionate, loving, creative soul that you were born to be. I am so honored to be in this space with you and to be a loving reminder on behalf of every woman and man and child who you are going to inspire and touch based on what you do with the messages that you've heard today. For them, I say thank you. And let's go make this the year that you become a time genius. First up, it's important to remember that deadlines exist for a reason, because they really work. So lots of psychological research has been done to back this up, right? To back up the power of deadlines. So for example, Dan Ariely did a study several years back where he had 3 different groups of students. Some were given no deadlines. Others created their own deadlines, and then a third group had to stick to the deadlines set by their professor. Guess what happened? At the end of the semester, it turned out that the students with no deadlines performed the worst, and the students with externally imposed deadlines performed the best. So the bottom line is that yes, even though deadlines can sometimes be uncomfortable and annoying, they are a fantastic tool to help us perform better and actually get things done. It's really about making a choice, right? You need to have an honest look in your heart and ask yourself, what is truly most important to me at this stage and season of my life? Is it getting this project done in 3 months, a year, whatever time frame it is? Or is it more important for me to just enjoy this creative process and allow the thing to unfold as it unfolds? And then once you're clear on that, once you decide what's most important, you need to be at peace with your choice and do not torture yourself with the alternative. So if you decide that getting this thing done in a particular time frame is really most important, then be smart about it. And yes, create a deadline for yourself. And look, it doesn't have to be this crazy intense deadline or be one that like freaks you out. But again, deadlines work. They are proven to help us get things done and perform at our best.
Start before you're ready. So Stephen, I have to tell, as a young life coach, I knew how ridiculous it all sounded. It sounded cheesy to me. Again, can I tell you my first workshop? There was 5 people in it. I was 24.
That's a lot.
My parents,
Oh, right, okay.
2 of them,
Right.
my yoga instructor from college, and one of her neighbors, actually 2 of her neighbors that she pulled in off of the street. And I had created a whole little workbook. I had done it with like Microsoft clip art. I stapled the little workbooks together and I stood in front of 5 people in my yoga teacher's basement in New Jersey, and I delivered like a day-long workshop. And like I think back to that cringy Marie, but she was also awesome, because she started before she was ready. She didn't know what the hell was going on, but she did it. And it was like the worst thing I probably ever did, but I did it. And then it gave me a little bit of experience to then like go do something else and then go do something else. So to your point, it's like everything for me has been messy. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work. This sounds like a lot of fun. I have energy towards it. I want to make a difference. Let's try it.
I never start my day without a success plan. You might be saying, Marie, what is a success plan? Let me tell you, it is a way better version than a to-do list. So I'm going to show you mine right now. It's on a simple little notebook. This is like a $2 notebook. You don't need anything fancy or expensive. And I write down the most important things that I will get done the next day. So today's success plan. I write down the meetings that I have. Like here, I know I had a little meeting with my friend Regina to help her out with her pricing. There were things I needed to do to prepare. I'm giving a couple of big talks coming up soon, so I have all of my notes to rehearse. I have my meetings in here, and then there's a little section at the end for like personal stuff, like return my Rent the Runway, and then I need to leave at 6:30 to get to a friend's place for dinner. So I never walk into my day without my success plan. As someone who has ADHD, it's not a wise thing to walk into an open day and go, well, what do I feel like doing? Or what might be the most important? I'm the queen of reverse engineering and setting myself up to give myself the greatest chance possible for feeling successful every damn day.
We kind of have some criteria internally whenever we're looking at a new opportunity. One of the things which, and this might sound woo-woo, but it's really not. We always check in, how does this feel? So we'll talk about some of the concrete bits in terms of having resourcing, staff, people to handle things, but how does this feel to us? What's the why that we're doing this? So for example, the fact that we have a podcast now, one of the major reasons that we do is because first of all, we're constantly talking with our audience. We're constantly listening. Our biggest department in the company is customer happiness because we respond to every single email that comes in and we have conversations with folks. And what we heard consistently was that people were taking their phone, watching MarieTV, putting it on their passenger car seat so that they could listen while they were driving. And we were eating up all of their bandwidth, do you know what I mean, on their data plans. And they're like, can you please, I would just love to listen to it. We're like, yes! So we started creating the version as a podcast. So while we sometimes do audio only podcasts, a lot of times it's the same exact content absolutely. And people so appreciate it because they get it, but they don't have to eat up their data. So that was one of the criteria, is like, oh, people really want this. What's the why? It's going to help serve them in a really big level. And then when we checked in bandwidth wise with the company, someone on our team was like, I will own this. I love this. I know exactly how I can do it. It's not going to take me off track. So then we did it. There's other times where an opportunity comes up and it's like, yeah, we could do that, but is it going to take us off track from these other things that we really enjoy, even if we can make more money? I get so many folks, not as much anymore, but I would say maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, do you know how much money you're leaving on the table? I'm like, I don't care. Because having a really successful, thriving business is not just about the money. It's about, how does your team operate? How do they feel showing up to work every day? How do you as the founder feel? Are you so stressed out that you want to run away and hate that you even started this thing? Like, have you created a monster that you can't keep up with? If the answer is yes, you know, again, I'm all about teaching people how to create a business and life they love, and that is not the way to do it.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing rules from Mel Robbins, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Confidence is not a feeling. Confidence is embodied in action. My definition of confidence is the willingness to try. I'm going to say it again. Your new definition